Hi, I'm Dana and this is Otis, and he's had a rough little day today, so he gets to just hang out here and do whatever he wants, don't you? This is episode 3 of the Burnout Diaries, and this is my third time filming this, because the first time I tried to film it when I had 2 failed trips to Asda, and then my storage filled up, and when I went to delete videos so that I could continue filming, I just deleted everything I'd filmed, so I gave up. Tried again the next day, didn't have any storage left, so I was like, I'm going to ignore that and I'll just do the whole laptop connecty thingy that I can do. That's the point of having Apple products, is that it makes it easier. So I did that, filmed the whole video, went to edit it. I hadn't filmed any sound. There was just no sound to it. I hadn't recorded any audio, so that was awesome. So if this time it goes wrong, this series is done, possibly the whole YouTube channel's down, and this has to work now. So when I've seen people talk about skill regression in the past, I sort of expect it to be, when coming into burnout and thinking about skill regression and seeing the way that other people have talked about it, I expected it to be very much, I'd wake up one day and suddenly not be able to do the thing, and I feel like that's a typical autism, isn't it? I took it very, very literally and was like, my skills will regress and suddenly I just won't be able to do everyday things. And to a point that is true, but the way in which it's happened has been weird, because I sort of thought it'd be one area or one skill, you know? And it's in some ways things are exactly the same as they've always been, but then in others, I can't do it. I can't do it. And a whole bunch of it isn't stuff where it's I can't do that. It's stuff where I'm of course I can do that. I do it all the time. And it just either takes way longer, or I'm just making these random mistakes and I'm I know how to do this thing. I don't know why I'm suddenly messing it up. I don't know why I'm suddenly making mistakes. I know how to do this thing, and all of a sudden it's just 10 times harder. So I mentioned at the start, it was originally prompted because I've been going to Asda every 2 or 3 days, and that's how I've had food in to be able to continue cooking and eating. And that's been my routine for the last 3 years. I've gotten lucky to move and consistently be right next to an Asda and be able to get the same safe foods and go the same amount of times. And I haven't been back. I've still not been in again. It was just every single time I went, it was that a little bit more overwhelming, and I was that little bit more anxious about it all, and it was just that little bit more of a horrible experience, until it got to the point where I had my little bag and I was ready to do my little shop so that I can have food in and cook healthy food. And I got not even halfway there, I just looped around and I came home, and I wasn't there, you know? It's not a meltdown, but I think maybe it's something that my brain does instead of a meltdown, where I just fully dissociate, I suppose, and I just walked home because I sort of knew, and I definitely subconsciously knew, that going into the Asda was just going to be an extremely overwhelming experience. My brain decided to just shut off and be well, let's not do it then, let's go home. I just had to order takeout. I had nothing in. I fully intended to go to Asda, and I got myself dressed and I started walking there, and nothing you could have done or said would have made me be okay with that experience, you know? It's way too overwhelming. And it's one of those things where yeah, it's always overwhelming, but it just feels so much more lately. And like I said, when it comes to just everyday things, I've been making is this in focus? It's not focusing properly, is it? I mean, you're watching me in the dark anyway, if it's not in focus, so be it. Oh, you can see that I've gotten a lava lamp. I don't even know where to point. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure where I was there, sorry. I've been making videos for consistently for 3 years now. I've been doing this for a long while. I've been using the same phone the entire time. I've been using the same cables to connect to my laptop, which I think I might have figured out. I think that might be the weird thingy noise that keeps happening. I think I need a new cable. I need a new phone. I need a new cable. I should probably get a new fucking laptop at this point. Don't get me wrong, it is all that's the thing, I don't feel like technology should be old after 5 years, but it's all 5 years old now, so I guess it kind of is. It has definitely slowed down a bit. It's not 100,000% just me, but it's 99% me, where I know what I'm doing. I've been doing it consistently for literal years. And all of a sudden, things aren't working the way I expect them to. And part of my brain is like, well, obviously I'm not, my brain does think of us as a we. But like, I know that I'm missing steps or like doing something wrong or not doing what I usually, like something, I'm skill regressed, and it's not fucking, the skills that I usually have just are not coming through for me and don't seem to be there. And it astounds me, it's really fucking weird, and I feel consistently disappointed and annoyed in myself because I'm just like, I know how to do these things. I've consistently been doing these things for years. They should not now suddenly be a struggle, you know? Like, even to get around to making this video, in the process of making my tea, I spilt it on my phone and on the kitchen floor. I spilt it coming up the stairs, and I spilt it on my little side bit, and then I very nearly dropped my phone into it and nearly kicked it over. And it's like, I've always been a bit clumsy, a bit klutzy. I knock things over, I step on things, like, that's just me. But it's so much more often lately, to the point where, like, I've been, like, looking up local, like, walk-in places because I'm convinced that at some point, clocking soon, I'm gonna, like, go for a finger. And, like, I'm trying to be more careful to stop those things from happening because, like, I have the awareness of, like, I'm getting worse at this. I'm not as good at this currently as I usually am. I'm trying to accommodate to that, but it's also, like, I need to eat, I need to cook myself a meal. Like, there's nowhere around here that I can even order fucking safe foods from, you know? Like, I have to be able to cook for myself. And I'm genuinely scared that I'm going to do myself, like, an actual proper injury while just trying to cook my dinner. Because that kind of thing keeps happening. And, like, it's not been anything severe yet, but I'm constantly nicking myself. My palms really hurt, and I'm not sure why. I have more bruises than I usually do. I've got burns. Like, my clumsiness and the level to which I'm just injuring myself doing normal day-to-day things that I'm used to doing is ridiculous. Everything's getting knocked over. I keep getting burnt and scolded, and, like, it's just a nightmare. And it's one of those things where I'm very, very much looking at this as, like, a temporary thing while I'm in burnout. Because the idea of it being anything long-term makes me feel physically sick. I'm just like, how the fuck am I meant to exist if it stays like this, or if I keep getting worse? Like, I'm at the absolute end of my fucking tether, you know? Like, it's taking me, like, 3 days to do laundry because, like, my executive function is also just gone. Like, the motivation and the energy to actually be able to do things is already really difficult. And then when I try to actually do the thing, it just feels so much more difficult than it usually does. You know, like, if it's something that's usually, like, sensory overwhelming, it's so much more overwhelming. If it's something that has, like, specific steps laid out where it feels like a lot of steps for, like, the autistic brain, I'm suddenly just missing steps that I'm usually, like, is part of the routine and that I'm used to. Like, nothing feels like it's going right. Everything feels more difficult. And I'm just so fucking annoyed at myself because I'm like, we can do this. This is the stuff that I'm literally used to doing. Like, it's my life, it's the stuff that I do, and all of a sudden, it's really hard. And I think one of the things that's annoyed me with, like, a lot of autistic stuff, and one of the things that's really driven me to, like, look into autism and want to understand it all, is that, like, this isn't how I expected it to be, you know? Like, the last burnout that I had where, like, things got bad and I was, like, actively in burnout and not having to, like, push it off to not be homeless and shit, I had not long moved out of my parents' house, you know? Like, I hadn't established the skills that I had to live, like, an independent adult life, however fucking independent I actually am, you know? Like, I hadn't developed any of those skills to lose yet. It just meant that I was a mess. And to have had all of these years of developing these skills and growing these skills and building skill sets, and then feeling like I'm going back into being that fucking mess, and, like, I may as well have not bothered building these skills because I'm slowly losing them. It feels a bit like a living nightmare, like a waking, living nightmare. It's not fun. I really don't like it. And that being said, and as much as I've repeatedly said that I am very annoyed at myself, I am trying to just see it as, like, it's a temporary thing because I've pushed myself into, like, a really severe state of burnout. I've been having to push this off for so long that there is so much, like, pent up and built up that I'm, like, now dealing with. Like, beyond burnout, there's also so much that I'm processing, you know? I think it is important to be kind to myself through this. And if, like, quite frankly, if I'm not kind to myself through it, it's just gonna make me feel worse, you know? Like, it's shitting all over myself is not helpful. Just trying to be nice to myself and trying to be like, it's a temporary thing that, like, it's not like I've caused this to happen in like a self-deprecation, like you've done this to yourself. It's just in like I've existed in a life that's pushed me to be in this position, and now I need to deal with it, you know? Like, I can't keep going on in the way that I have been, and this is unfortunately the consequence of that. It's not very fun, it's not very nice, but I think the nicer that I am to myself through it, the easier it's going to be to get through, and hopefully it won't last as long, and I can start actually like rebuilding skills and stuff again, and life doesn't feel like a living nightmare. I'm pretty sure the saying is living hell or waking nightmare. I don't give a fuck. Oh, man's still here, he's just slightly off frame. Guess he don't feel like being on camera tonight. He acted like ever so slightly out of character this morning and also had a hairball, and I just freaked the fuck out and ended up booking him a vet appointment because I was like semi-convinced he was going to die, and the vet told me he was completely fine and then cleaned his anal glands, and now we're here. It's so embarrassing the amount of times that I've taken him to the vet and I'm like a stuttering mess. I'm like, he's done this and he's done that and he's usually like this and he's usually like that, and I give him this and I give him that and he's like this, and they like look him over and they're like, he's completely fine. Like, there is not a hint of anything wrong with this cat. And I'm like, oh, didn't think there was, but I just wanted to make sure. And they're like, okay. Like, ugh. But at least I know he's okay. I don't know why I know why I brought that up. This is meant to be like a little diary thing, isn't it? And I think that is also like one of my signs of burnout, because I rely on this cat so heavily when I don't feel good. And the idea of anything happening to him when I feel the way that I already do. No. Yeah, all I'm not having a fun time. But hopefully at some point it will be a fun time again. I'm going to Halifax again next week, so at least we've got that going for us. That'll be nice. Gonna go to Anlister's house and actually get to go inside this time, most likely. I think it'll be fun. I'm thinking I might also go to Anne Walker's grave. I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna come up with a plan sometime in the next few days, because it's this coming Sunday. You can follow me if you want to. I'm gonna continue making this type of video, as well as like my normal autism stuff, as well as like some more fun things splattered in, just because quite frankly it's a lot easier to film like my life and things I'm doing than it is to sit down and film a video right now, unless it's this kind of thing that I'm doing at 1:03 AM. Bet my neighbours love me, bet my housemate loves me, everything's going so well for me. And everything can go really well for you too if you subscribe and like this video. You can also find me over on TikTok, Instagram or Patreon. And also Blue Sky or Ko-fi. They'll all be linked down below. You don't have to, there's no pressure. I do predominantly care about subscribers, I won't lie to you. I always wanted to be a YouTuber, that's where my heart lays. I quite enjoy watching that go up. As always, we do also have the Discord. It is 18 plus only. I've had a few people message me lately asking for the link, and I am happy to give it out. I really don't mind, but I feel awkward being like, are you a grown up? But also, like, I'm 27 years old, I'm about to turn 28. I don't want to have to like censor myself and make it child friendly. No, please be over 18. If you are, feel free to ask me for it and I'll send it out. You'll also automatically be able to find it, I think, if you join the Patreon. It's a fun little Patreon perk, but I don't like paywalls. I'm absolutely rambling. I'm going to go now. Whoever you are, wherever you are, if you have a lovely morning, evening. I don't know if I say lovely or wonderful. Wherever you are, whoever you are, wherever you are, if you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, I'll see you again in a couple of days.